I don't even remember the last time I streamed. I don't know. I got my hunger back. I guess you can say I've been watching a lot of boxing, but I knew I had my hunger back when I started watching interviews. Sometime a couple of weeks ago, I forgot exactly when it was, but I must have watched maybe about, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours worth of interviews. Different fighters, different fights. So that's when I know I'm back in the grind, when I start consuming a lot of boxing content, reading articles, getting back in the groups, getting back in the forums. So since I haven't done any content in a while, a long time, there's a lot to talk about regarding boxing. So let's see where I'm at on Sunday night. Right now, it's 11:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Geez, what is today's date? Is the day the 11th? Today's the 12th. November the 12th, 2025. This weekend, on the 15th, you're going to have the rematch, which, I got to be honest, I'm not really seeing, well, I know here in the States, don't nobody really give a shit about Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn too. Because if to have known who their fathers were here in the States, you had to be a hardcore boxing fan, buying the VHS tapes of these fights from obscure boxing magazines in the early 2000s, late 90s. So as far as Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, that's nothing over here in the States, to be very honest. There is no real American promotion for this fight. You're not going to see it on our big sports platforms like ESPN, Fox Sports. This is strictly a social media promoted fight here in the States. Don't get me wrong, the first fight was amazing. I enjoyed it. But the second fight, I mean, maybe it's just me. Don't get me wrong. They are, between Ring Magazine, which is owned by Turkey Al Sheikh, The Zone, they're treating this as it's a super mega event, and it's not that it's not. Remember, there's not one single title on the line. It's just that boxing is in this weird place right now where I don't know how to explain it. Maybe we'll talk about it or get to it later on in the video when, boxing is just weird right now. It's real weird. So, of course, I'm going to be here watching this fight. In fact, let me pull up the undercard here. Where is it at? Let me pull up the undercard here. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I'm going with Chris Eubank Jr. He's back with Bomac. Conor Benn, he's got the dog in him, yeah. But I just think that at the end, just like it was with the first fight, he's too small. He's too small. And I think there's a higher chance of somebody, we're going to talk about this later on. I think there's a higher chance of somebody getting knocked out this fight than it is in the first fight. And remember, they were fighting wild in that first one. And Eubank Jr.'s tank was gassed. And remember the controversy after the end of the fight where they were like, we don't know if his jaw is broke. It's fake news. And turns out, as you can see from the thumbnail, his jaw was broke. Conor Benn broke his jaw. The smaller fighter. Wait a minute. Was his jaw broken or was it just swollen? I think it was broken, right? Where's the undercard at? But as I said, over here in the States, the fight doesn't really just move the needle over here in the States. And The Zone, let me tell you about them. So let me go ahead and make the announcement. I am going to be paying $45 a month for The Zone. What is it? Ultimate Peep tier package or whatever they're calling it, where you get their shows, their pay-per-views. So for those who don't know, the Zone has a new tier where they're going to be charging $45 a month, and you're going to get all of their premium events. So basically every event, pay-per-view or not, you're getting it for $45 a month. Now I'm doing this because I'm making my commitment back to full-time boxing coverage again. So the Zone, with their shady business practices, they done copyrighted me, and I'm talking about copyrighted strike. They didn't try to shut my channel down probably like motherfucker like 10 times. Like, not even joking. But anyway, this is in the past. This was like years ago. But anyway, they got some bad business practices. So for example, let me tell you what they do before we get back to Eubank Jr. and Benn and talk about the card. Let me tell you this shit right here. So look, we all know America's been suffering. So when I pay for the Zone, I pay for it on my food stamp card. And I ain't had no stamps. So they like, update payment method. Your the Zone subscription will be suspended soon if we do not receive payment from you. Listen to this shit right here. Furthermore, the Zone reserves the right to take legal action if necessary. Who the fuck are you talking to, the Zone? Okay, yeah, I didn't pay with the food stamps, but the point is, I put them on. I got an app that I put my streaming services on, so it's like a kill switch, and you can cut it off like what apps you want to pay for and what apps you don't. So when the Zone has a bullshit schedule, I click that little button like, nah, you're not getting my $21.19 a month. That's how much it costs a month. But when you look at their business practices, right, you have to pay $21.19 for the Zone. And then they try to lock you into a 12-month contract. And if you don't want to pay them, then they threaten to sue your ass. Netflix don't do that. Hulu don't do that. Motherfucking Pluto TV, if you get the premium Pluto TV, they don't do that. Tubi TV, I don't know. Listen, they don't do this. But the Zone, they so money hungry is that they threaten their fan base and the people like me, the YouTubers who promote their shit. That burnt me up. But anyway, I made the decision. I'm going to be a simpleton, and I'm going to give them their $45 a month, because that means I get to watch the Eubank Jr. fight. That's pay-per-view here, by the way. And remember, that card a couple of weeks ago, that Queensberry card, they made us pay for Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker. We had to pay for pay-per-view for that over here in the States. They made us pay for Chris Eubank Jr. Counter Ben 1. They're going to make us pay for this one. Pay-per-view. They tripping. But I'm doing it for you, the people. So I'm coming up with something. I just got to let it happen. I got a time slot now. And it took me years to put together a time slot where I'll be able to start carving out some time to really, really be able to produce content. And I think I need to be a night owl again. I need to be like Batman, like do my content at night. After everybody else stops streaming and running their mouths, that's when I should get on, right? That's the move. Because see, in this day and age, everybody's doing the live streaming, doing the fights. Yeah, I had the upper hand and the edge because I would show the highlights and everything. But nah, I missed my window. So I think I'm going to go live after everybody stops streaming. So anyway, next week it's going to be the Anthony Yard David Benavidez fight. I really want to call him Smith though, man. And you know, he's been on a layoff since he beat Joshua Buatsi. And Joshua Buatsi, well, we saw what happened last week. He got a gift. So just because I haven't been producing content, I'm still a degenerate boxing fans like you. I watch all of this shit. I be watching these fights. It's just that I was so bitter at the sport for some time, I needed to take some time off. Boxing is, man, it's just, and now that this this reset is happening. For example, PBC don't have a TV deal. They do got Amazon Prime. Top Rank don't have a full TV deal, even though they're getting their boxers active. For example, Top Rank's got a card coming up this weekend of Rafael Espinoza, and that's on the Top Rank's TV Classic. Top Rank's got little small channels like on Pluto. I think it's on Pluto. But anyway, moving on. There's no TV deals in boxing. There's no real American exposure for boxing except the Zone and Amazon Prime. And with Dana White now coming into boxing with TKO and the revival of that Muhammad Ali act, to be very honest, I'm welcoming it. I don't see why fans are so upset about the Muhammad Ali act revival when it's like these are the same fans that tell us they don't fight for us. So why am I going to be like, I don't. That's not my problem, what you make and what you don't make. You're the fighter. You're the one with the millions or the hundreds of thousands. You can buy the lawyers, to go fight for you. I'm not going to be advocating for you to make more money. It's not my business. I just want to watch the fights. It's not my business. So anyway, let me stop rambling and get back to the card this weekend. So here it is. In fact, let me pull it up on BoxRec. Let me see here. Where you at? Like, what's the heat check on this fight? I'm at a 7 because the first fight is one of those type of fights where it's a high likelihood it's going to look the same as the first fight, or they're going to be more cautious and it's going to be worse than the first fight. But both of them, especially Conor Benn, they got that dog in them where they want to really go out there and try to prove themselves. And he lost. I don't know. I don't know. Jack Catterall, he has the ability to stink it up. Adam Azim, okay. Richard Riakporhe, I kind of like him. Remember Richard Riakporhe, he was fucking around with Madonna. Remember that? That was him. Remember that? Y'all forgot about that? Let me show y'all a picture real quick. I'm never going to let him live it down. I mean, hey, listen, I ain't knocking it, man. Get that Material Girl. I'm trying not to cuss. Get that Material Girl snatch. Madonna. Let me see. I would love to know the story of that. Like, yo, bro, like, how the fuck? Where was y'all at? You met her? Like, what's going on? That's him. You know something about like them older women, especially the white women, when they get like plastic surgery, they always hide the hands. Them old ass hands always give them away. Look, with your hands, look, they always hide the hands because they be all crinkly. But yeah, anyway, back to boxing. Listen. I like the card. Don't get me wrong. It's not any real fights that like really kind of stick out to me that I'm like, yo. But as far as Riakporhe, put it this way: these are A sides, and A sides and B and B, not B minus, not B plus, like B sides against like, I don't know. In fact, let me pull up the resumes. Like, maybe H sides. So it's one of them undercards where you got the names, but unless one of these fights turn into something like, oh, I knew this was going to be like that, they throwing down. It's not really no fight that really, really sticks out. So, for example, Catterall against, I saw this guy fight before. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not even we're going to call him Double E. I'm not even going to try to butcher it, but I've seen him fight before. Josh Taylor, boom, I remember now. He beat Josh Taylor. That's him. Okay, I remember now. I remember this fight. It was Josh Taylor's last fight. It was earlier this year. Jesus, my memory's shit. So he's fighting the guy who beat Josh Taylor. And remember, Josh Taylor and Catterall's got the history. And, okay, there's a storyline behind this fight. Is this some type of eliminator for something? WBO Global. So is that going to get you a global ranking? I mean, a WBO ranking? Let me see something. Let me pull the rankings up. So I'm still catching up, too. So if I make some mistakes with some boxing news, please feel free to correct me in the comments. So even though I'm back covering boxing, I'm rusty. So I'm still, trying to get back into the mix here. So let's go see. This fight's taking place at 147, right? No, 140. So where you at, Jack Catterall? Wait a minute. Catterall's not ranked nowhere? Am I missing him? There we go. Okay, so there is Essuman. There you go. He's number 14 by the IBF. Let's see. Catterall he's number 147 confirmed. Catterall is number 7 by the WBA. Catterall's number 11 by the IBF. Where else you at? 7 by the WBC. Okay, so he's in the top 10 of 3 of the 4 major sanctioning bodies, and number 8 by the WBO. Okay, here go Essuman. So basically, he's creeping up on a title shot because, as you can see, Double E is ranked number 3, Catterall number 8. So high likelihood. Don't be surprised when they announce this fight, when the fighters are in the ring, that they name this as some type of eliminator to fight Alexis Rocha to fight the winner of Brian Norman, Devin Haney, which is taking place next week. And by the way, I'm not sold on Brian Norman, but we'll talk about that later on. I ain't seen nothing. There's nothing there yet. He's got that punch, but the resume ain't really nothing there. So we're gonna have to see next week. So, all right. So we got 2 fights. One fight on the undercard that has some meaning. Possible number 1 contender for the winner of Devin Haney and Brian Norman. Okay, so you got that. Adam Azim versus Kurt Scobie. Let's see who you are, mate. I'm not high on Adam Azim either. Damn, he's got a neck. That's a football player neck. I don't know. I'm about to pick him. 18-1 with 16 KOs. But see, this can be deceiving. Now, before I go look at his resume, I don't remember. I seen him somewhere before, didn't I? I've seen him fight somewhere before, I believe, because that name looks so familiar. But look at those 16 KOs. When you see 16 KOs, what do you see? It's like, oh, he knocking everybody out. But who is he knocking out? 11-11. 8-4. Now, this guy, this is when I like to go down a rabbit hole. Daniel Lim, 11-1. But who was that? That looks good right there, right? To the naked eye, that 11-1 looks good. But then when you click on his resume, you're like 11-1. You start going down. Look, now it was 11-6. Boom, just like that. And then when you start looking to how he got to that 11-1, you see a 5-12, a 1-16, an 8-14. You see a 5-6-4. You see. You see. So you gotta watch it when you see shit like this. So look, let me see. When does it end? When does it end? Does it end here with Alex Martin? Or let's see. Let's go see Haskell Rhodes. 31-7-1. You're like, okay, nice little journeyman. 2300 arena where ECW used to be. I was just there a few weeks ago. Boots in this and what the fuck the guy name he fought? Wasn't his name Lima too? That's what they had they weigh in. So you say Haskell Rhodes. Okay, I heard of him too. You say, okay, 32-8-1 with 16 KOs. But look, just last year, he fought somebody that was 41-41. Where is your family, mate? You got knocked out 33 times. Does anyone love you? Anyone care about you? Excuse me, he got knocked out 29 times. My bad. My bad. So when I look at this, I think like, okay, Adam is in. I'm not really high on him. I just haven't seen enough. I've been watching his fights because remember, I told you I'm a degenerate. I watch these cards. If you don't see me doing videos, don't mean I'm not there watching these cards. I can be anywhere, and I got these fights on my phone, anywhere. See, when you look at these two wins right here, I covered the O'Hara Davies fight. I don't remember if I covered the Lipinets fight, but two somewhat veterans, but two guys that were never really good to me to begin with. I was covering O'Hara Davies when he was undefeated. I was covering Sergey Lipinets when he used to talk like Tupac, talking all this shit that everybody was ducking him on Twitter. I never really considered Lipinets to be that good. I never really considered O'Hara Davies to be that good. However, I'm not saying it's not a good scout for Adam Azim. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I haven't seen nothing from Azim yet that will make me think that he can be a legitimate threat to anybody, a Richardson Hitchens, a Gary Antoine Russell, a Sabril Matias, a Isak Cruz, a Teofimo Lopez. I don't see it. Do you see him beating any of those guys? Let's see how he looks on Saturday against Kurt Scobie. I've covered him before, but where? I feel like I've seen him fight so many times. But none of these venues look familiar to me. But anyway, moving on. Richard Riakporhe versus Tommy Welch. I've definitely seen Tommy Welch fight before. But where? Have I? What's this? York Hall. Where was this at? Tommy Welch. Nope. Have I? I may not. I don't think, no, I haven't seen this bloke fight before. So this fight is you know, I'm guessing it's to keep Riakporhe busy. So is he officially at heavyweight now, Riakporhe? He's officially at heavyweight now. I remember this fight. Did I do a video on this fight? I think I did, but I never uploaded the video. I did the video on this fight, but I didn't upload it. So he's at heavyweight now. Losing to Chris Billam-Smith. Listen, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but Richard Riakporhe losing to Chris Billam-Smith, it's like that's his cap. If it's like, you know, you 35 now, he really hasn't been around that long. He's only been pro since what, 2016. I mean that's technically that's almost 10 years. But if you look at it, like he hasn't had a lot of fights. He's only had 19 fights. 35 years old. That's going to be his cap. That's going to be his cap. He's going to be domestic level. Always the groomsman, never the groom. And that's where I see. So as far as this card's concerned, where we at? What did I do with the card? Damn it. There we go. As far as this card concerned, I'm going to give this card, if I'm going to give it a rating, I'm going to rate it a B minus. A B minus. Yeah, Joe G. No, I'm not casual. I'm keeping up. I've been keeping up, but I'm back now. Anyway, I'm giving this a B minus. It's not a C plus because that's a little too low. I can give it a B minus because, see, the fights that are meaningful on here, Eubank Jr. Conor Benn, of course, the grudge match. There's also a third fight. If Benn wins, then there's a contract for a third fight. But Conor Benn earlier in the week or at the Grand Arrivals was saying like this was it. Like, you know, they're moving on after this. Chris Eubank Jr., if he loses, he's saying he's not retiring. So he's going to be around for a while. And there's still that possibility of him fighting Canelo out there. Canelo may want to come back and get kind of a tune-up or whatever. I don't know. I'm not trying to disrespect Eubank Jr., but there's still that carrot out there for some significant fights for Eubank Jr. if he was to beat Conor Benn. So this fight has some significance. It's the main event, of course. Jack Catterall versus Double E. That has some significance because this is a future WBO #1 contender at 147. Catterall's at 147 now. Adam Azim versus Scobie, nothing there that really sticks out to me that means anything. This fight right here, Ishmael Davis, I've seen him fight before, versus Sam Gilly, British title. Richard Riakporhe, he's now at heavyweight, his second fight officially at heavyweight. Undercard, just the card overall, B-. Yeah, I've seen him fight before. Josh Kelly, Sergey Bahachuk. Yeah, I covered this fight. Yeah, definitely. All right. So nothing really of note. I did get a chance to watch some content, some interviews from Chris Sr. with Talk Sport. It was pretty crazy, actually. Let me see if I can play a clip real quick without any Talk Sport Eubank. Let me see here.
Let's get into the first fight and have a look about Eubank's approach. Not have a look at his approach, but I want you to talk to me about what you thought of his approach to the first fight was.
Well, listen, I think that Chris started the fight very well. He executed the game plan very well. He worked behind the jab and he was keeping Conor at range. That's where Conor was struggling to get inside, to get the work, because that's where he needed to be. He needed to be in close. But Chris was doing well with them shots, keeping it long. But as the fight wore on, Conor was getting close and Chris was, you could see him starting to slow down a little bit. And I think when we got into the later rounds, the penultimate rounds...
That's not what I was looking for.
Well, we're going to see a little bit of that again later on.
And I'm talking about the school of boxing.
Yep.
The school of hard knocks.
Yep.
And taking him to school, it seems as though I've done a tremendous job. A tremendous job. Right?
Well, you was the genius at controlling those press conferences yourself.
No,
and you were very good at that, Chris. And he is like a chip off the old block.
He's saying that.
That's exactly what I'm saying. I brought him to...
Yeah.
I was speaking for him. All he was doing was stone cold. And I was there giving it the poetry.
So are you impressed that he's learned his...
Remember Frank Warren said, who said it? I think it was Frank Warren said, he don't really talk like that. He from the hood.
Lessons from, the apple hasn't fallen far from the tree.
I can only go by...
He looks like a Ninja Turtle.
The words of which you speak.
He's bold. Look at the things he says.
When you say and when you speak of him so highly in terms of how he engages the public and how he winds people up, excuse me.
Yeah, well done.
Chris, would you agree that he's changed recently and that he's endeared to a lot more fans and he's won a lot more people like me over, and you're watching him with a smile on your face now, and you know yourself when you used to fight. I went to watch you with my dad in the G-Mex when you fought Mauro Galvano, and it was one of my first ever pro fights I went to. But people were there to watch you, and
that wasn't the one I was looking for. That wasn't an interview I was looking for. I think it was this one. Basically, they were talking about how if he accepted money to be there with Eubank Jr. at the fight, and that Nigel Benn said he was given $250,000.
And once you do see, Mr. Jordan, I want you to spit fire.
Superior fighter to the narrative.
Not to Junior.
Sorry.
Junior.
Where's it at?
So
I think it's here.
My son is actually, I'm schooling him in watching this broadcast. Always stay in the shadow of your father. Always. You're never going to be as good as your father, especially if you supersede him in whatever regard, money, competition, especially if you exceed what he has done. Always stay in the shadow. This way, the world that you can't see will always credit you. My father worked in 4 Dagenhams for I don't know how many years. £90 a week, bringing up 4 children. Okay?
I think it's the part right here.
Okay? It was 5'3". I would never put myself in the same.
But respecting your father.
Just hold on,
Chris, it's
hold
not the
on,
same.
hold on. I would never say, well, okay, I was better than my father.
That's not what he's saying, Chris, is it?
Hold on.
That's your ego talking.
Hold on. No, it's not my ego talking.
How do you accord your thinking?
Again,
How do you accord your thinking
well,
with wanting the son to be
quiet,
better?
I'll be able to actually explain.
Well, go on then.
All right, okay. When I say stay in the shadow of your father, you didn't have to walk in your father's shoes. You don't know what he had to go through to get you and bring you up in this world. That's why you always bow, you always are obedient to your father. This is not just boxing, this is every field. One of the oldest statutes, honor your father and your mother so that your days on earth may be long. These are statutes that are global.
And inscribed in time. I understand your point. But what you're suggesting also, and we'll move on to the actual fight itself, I just want to dwell on this for 30 seconds. How does that chime with the idea that every parent wants his son to do better and to have a better life than he had? How does that chime with that mentality? Because I want my son to be better and have a better life than I had, and my father wanted me to have a better life than he did. And so with that in mind, if I emulate my father's deeds, it doesn't mean my father's value's been lost. It means I'm a man in my own right. And what you sought to do, to some extent, is to control the narrative and all of the attention around what was happening with your son.
Okay, so that to me sounds like jealousy. What I'm doing for my son is actually, I'm schooling him in the art and the craft of gladiating. I held his hand right the way through. Okay, I was protecting him all the way through. To what? For him to come back and say all of a sudden, all these guys, even this guy here behind me, and him over there, and him over there, these promoters, they are whatever term he labeled them with. So what he did, he came around to actually then learn that, oh, Dad was absolutely right. And what I was doing was protecting him. Protecting him. Let me tell you the type of dad. You look...
Remember, for those who've been watching Eubank Jr. for years, remember, I started watching Eubank Jr. Let me see here. Let's go back and look at the resume. I know I got like 11 years in, right? I came in, look, I covered this fight, him versus Billy Joe. Hold me, go to full screen. I covered this Billy Joe Saunders fight. That was in 2014. I covered all these fights leading up to it. I came in around here. I didn't cover the Tyson Fury fight. This is where I came in at. And remember, the fights used to always be about Senior. Eubank Jr. would be in the corner. You know, Senior would get into the ring, start posing, looking his son up and down. You know, when it came to like the promoting of the fights, he was always, you know, but I can see where he's coming from. Wait, let me see if I can get to the part where he was talking about why Eubank Jr. had got rid of him. He pretty much said that he fired him.
You're looking at...
Are you going to be any more involved in the center of your son's world coming up to this fight, or is it just going to be another media narrative of nostalgia? In comes Eubank Sr. alongside Eubank Jr. In comes Benn with his dad.
What is the question?
Are you going to be more involved in what's going on with your son?
No.
Would you like to have been?
With the experience that I've had, possibly less that easier to mend. Yes.
Why wouldn't you want to be involved with Chris at this stage, with what's on the line, with the history of you and Nigel, with the sons now doing it as well? Why wouldn't you want that involvement, Chris?
For many years, there were so many people who would say, he should let his son,
make his own decisions.
I wasn't going to say that.
Right.
There were so
They
many
annoying the shit out of him.
who had this view that I shouldn't be taking up as much limelight, as they put it, as I did. And so this went on for years. And obviously, Junior, over a period of time, he buckled to that, and I was made to leave the camp.
Heard that?
And that had an effect on your relationship
do you not
as
think
well.
there's some merit in that argument, though, Chris, just out of curiosity, before we move on? Do you not think that he's a man of his own right?
So look, he's saying that, I'm guessing, so this is what I'm gathering from it. Remember, him and Eubank Jr. had a falling out for some time. They wasn't even talking or anything. And then Eubank Sr. was, you know, how can I say? I guess he was going through a mid or later life crisis where he was, you know, he was a sheriff. He was walking around with his badge on. He was singing in like McDonald's in front of a whole bunch of old people. Basically, he was going through some shit. That was all in the media over there. I remember that. So it's looking like that at one point in time, Eubank Jr. wanted to be his own man. And I'm guessing Senior is saying other people in Junior's camp that he had brought in was saying like, hey, your papa's on some bullshit. Like, you ain't gonna never be nothing if you don't get him out of the way. And he's, you know, just always trying to make it about him. And I'm guessing what he's saying is like, Junior was like, you know, you fired.
Make his own decisions.
I wasn't going to say that.
All right.
There were so many people who had this view that I shouldn't be taking up as much limelight, as they put it, as
With so
I
many
did.
people.
And so this went on for years. And obviously, Junior, over a period of time, he buckled to that, and I was made to leave the camp.
And that had an effect
You can see he still heard about that.
Do
on
you
your
not
relationship
think
as
there's
well.
some
The
merit in that
mask
argument,
slipped.
Chris, just out of curiosity, before we move on? Do you not think that he's a man of his own right, he's a man of his own deeds, and being your son was difficult enough because of the achievements that you had, that he should be able to come out into the light and be his own man and not be your son?
That is, it's corrupt. Always stay in the, always stay. This is not just for boxing.
Mm-hmm.
This is for every man who is watching this broadcast. Always stay in the shadow of your father. Always.
No, he wasn't no
You're
damn
never gonna
sheriff.
be as good as your father. Especially if you supersede him in whatever regard.
Now, see, this
do you
was
like-
now. If you hear that shit, that right there, I didn't like that comment. Of my bad, I done messed up the time. I didn't like that comment. Listen to this. And no, he wasn't no damn real sheriff, man. No, that's the whole point. He was on some shit like where, you know, it just was. He was in a rough time in his life. You see, he don't got that damn badge on now. But he was going through some shit, like for real, it was a thing. Like all on social media, he was getting clowned because he was wearing his badge everywhere. I don't even think the UK got sheriffs. They don't got sheriffs in England, I don't think, right? Oh, the sheriff of Nottingham. Y'all do.
As I did. And so this went.
But shut up, y'all. Listen to this. This is the point I'm trying to make. So this next part he's going to talk about is like basically that it's coming across that he's saying that Eubank Jr. should always stay in his shadow. A lot of people may feel that your children should be better than you, should be in a better position than you. I feel that way. A lot of people feel that way. It don't seem like he feels that way. It seems like he's like, you know, and he tries to dance around like what he means, but it's all convoluted because it's like, what are you talking about, bro? Like, you know, do you think that your son should be better than you, you know, or do you think that you should stay always the master and the student don't surpass the master? Like, what is he talking about?
On for years, and obviously Junior, over a period of time, he buckled to that, and I was made to leave the camp.
And that had an effect on your relationship
do you not
as
think
well.
there's some merit in that argument, though, Chris, just out of curiosity, before we move on? Do you not think that he's a man of his own right, he's a man of his own deeds, and being your son was difficult enough because of the achievements that you had, that he should be able to come out into the light and be his own man and not be your son?
Now, listen, this is when he's going to start tap dancing. And this is when the ego comes out where I'm like, oh, I see. He don't want the spotlight to be off of him. Listen to this shit. He start dancing around in his mind. Look, you can look at him looking up. I've been learning body language and shit. He's trying to like come up with some shit to make it seem like he's not trying to make it about him.
That is, it's corrupt. Always stay in the, always stay. This is not just for boxing. Mm-hmm. This is for every man who is watching this broadcast. Always stay in the shadow of your father. Always. You're never going to be as good as your father, especially if you supersede him in whatever regard, money, competition, especially if you exceed what he has done. Always stay in the shadow. This way, the world that you can't see will always credit you. My father.
Now, I get where he's coming from, but a guy like Eubank Sr., with the ego that he got, people ain't trying to hear that shit. You know, you want to be humble. You want to honor, you know, thy mother and thy father. But, you know, it's a slippery slope with him.
Worked in 4 Dagenhams for I don't know how many years. 90 pounds a week, bringing up 4 children. Okay? He walked with a limp. Okay? It was 5'3". I would never put myself in the same.
But respecting your father.
Just hold on,
Chris,
hold on. I would never say, well, okay, I was better than my father.
That's not what he's saying, Chris, is it?
Hold on.
That's your ego talking.
Hold on. No, it's not my ego
talking. How do you accord your thinking? How do you accord your thinking with wanting the son to be better?
I'll be able to actually explain.
Well, go on then.
All right.
The mask slipping.
When I say stay in the shadow of your father, you didn't have to walk in your father's shoes. You don't know what he had to go through to get you and bring you up in this world. That's why you always bow. You always are obedient to your father. This is not just boxing. This is every field. One of the oldest statutes, honor your father and your mother so that your days on earth may be long. These are statutes that are global.
And inscribed in time. I understand your point. But what you're suggesting also, and we'll move on to the actual fight itself, I just want to dwell on this for 30 seconds. How does that chime with the idea that every parent wants his son to do better and to have a better life than he had? How does that chime with that mentality? Because I want my son to be better and have a better life than I had, and my father wanted me to have a better life than he did. And so with that in mind, if I emulate my father's deeds, it doesn't mean my father's value's been lost. It means I'm a man in my own right. And what you sought to do, to some extent, is to control the narrative and all the attention around what was happening with your son.
Okay, so that to me sounds like jealousy. What I'm doing for my son is actually, I'm schooling him in the art and the craft of gladiating. I held his hand right the way through. Okay, I was protecting him all the way through. To what? For him to come back and say all of a sudden, all these guys, even this guy here behind me, and him over there, and him over there, these promoters, they are whatever term he labeled them with. So what he did, he came around to actually then learn that, oh, Dad was absolutely right. And what I was doing was protecting him. Protecting him. Let me tell you the type of dad. You're looking at, you're looking at a very spiritual man. I was a fantastic daddy. Mm-hmm. I was a fantastic daddy. I'm going to give you a tip. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you how, you said to me earlier, okay, I am a journalist. Okay, so now you're a journalist. I'm going to give you I'll give you a tip.
Go ahead.
Okay? And this stems from being a superior, fantastic, a daddy, a sugar daddy beyond measure.
Bro.
Okay.
Sugar daddy.
Listen. Okay. So, as a journalist,
you love that.
If I was born at 8 minutes past 8 on the morning of Monday, 1966, on August, the 8th month, right? The 8th month.
What is he talking about?
Day. So
what are you pissing me off?
I know what 36 is. And to be fighting an energy.
So anyway, the point is, you can still tell that he's upset that at one point in time, it looks like Eubank Jr., as he started getting more popular, making more money, getting older, becoming his own man, other people that Eubank Jr. was hiring was kind of getting in his ear like, yo, your pop is, like, you ain't gonna get far with that. Or why is he always in the limelight? And at one point in time, Eubank Jr. fired his dad. But Eubank Sr., he's not saying that everyone's wrong about like him like wanting the spotlight and everything. And if you watch the whole interview, he was pretty much trying to say, like, you know how in wrestling, in wrestling, where you'll have a wrestler that's not good on the microphone cutting promos. So what will they do? They'll put you with a manager and have the manager do the talking for you. So kind of like Paul Heyman. Jim Cornette. Fucking DDP before he became a wrestler. So that's what he's saying he was trying to do for Eubank Jr. It was like, listen, he don't got no swag. He don't know how to like really talk to the people, how to really sell the fights. I'm doing that for him. That's what Eubank Sr., that's what I'm getting from it. Jimmy Hart, yeah, that's what I'm getting from it. But Eubank Jr. and everybody else in the team is like, yo, he's always taking the limelight. So it was a big disconnect there. Now, I'm missing the part. There was a part here where they was trying to say that he took money, that he was offered money to be there at the first fight. He didn't just show up because he wanted to be there with his son, that it was some money being offered. And it was kind of a shady answer he gave. Let me see if I can find it.
Like, if you go to, I'm going to give you the reason I burst into tears is because I gave my son
himself and Chris.
Where you at? They asked him like
into these rehydration.
Conor as a superior fighter, was it superior?
Where's that, man? Did I miss
Going
it?
to the intent.
So effectively, in taking him to school, it's not. What I'm trying to point out to you is that, when
Approached it different.
I would have approached it
Goddamn, Bo Mac.
different. But just
In what way?
By the way, let me talk about this real quick. Did you notice that Bo Mac somehow, some way, remember Bo Mac did like a year, not a year, he did like 2 months in jail over there for having a gun in his bag? Remember that? And now he's just casually able to go back over to the UK. Some powerful people must have pulled some moves for him.
He's still trying to go at him.
competition,
I'm trying to find that clip.
The Eubank and the Benn names.
Of your performance.
Putting himself through this experience again.
What is correct? What is really right?
Above the door, it can't help but be drawn into that situation where people talk about, because I made an observation about.
I should have got a timestamp earlier when I did it.
With me and tell me I have no right to say this. I think it's the least they could have done was put out the performances they put in the first fight. Because, prior to the fight, Chris, about the fight itself, your objection to it, the objectification of your son, the fighting weight class, but you were there, and you came. And, you know, we've discussed it on another show. We don't need to talk about the mechanics and why you came and what you came for. But what is your involvement likely to be this time round? Are you going to be closer to...
Oh, it was the wrong interview. All right.
Back in here talking about...
I got to find the interview. Where's it at?
Talking about your son.
Let me see. Where is it at? How do you feel about Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua? Anthony Joshua was done at top level. I always knew after that Daniel Dubois fight, and I'm not the only one, is that they were going to cash him out. This is it right here. They're cashing him out.
And maybe a quarter or half of that personal, but he likes to fight.
I know what 36 is. I retired.
No, because it was at a time where you...
In this fight.
Fire. And the man who has lost is a superior.
Do you expect the adjustments to be...
He doesn't have to. We can make it a bit comfortable.
Where's the
He
interview at?
engages the public and how he wins loved. The key is to get the hearts of the people.
thought process.
Let's listen to.
I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. People make their own view on it.
Yeah, but you're saying that you're a bigot. You're telling people that you're a bigot.
Nothing bigoted about that. Don't be so bloody silly.
Yeah.
Do better than that.
Nothing
bigoted about it.
What is a father supposed to do? Am I supposed to just take him and
let his son develop and shine?
That's what he's doing.
I don't know if listen, that goes to show you the state of boxing right now. If Jake Paul is able to get a fight with Anthony Joshua, now the hell with the fact that Jake Paul is going to lose, and he should lose. Jake Paul don't care about the fact that he's going to lose. He's a social media influence. He's like, oh shit, I was able to fight Anthony Joshua. That's how he's viewing it. Anthony Joshua getting a nice $50 million plus payday from Netflix. You know, cashing out. Eddie Hearn getting a little bit of money too. Joshua is going to retire. If Joshua doesn't get the Tyson Fury fight, which I don't think he wants anymore, to be honest. I don't think either of them want it. I can see Anthony Joshua's last fight being in 2026 in Africa. I can see that. Maybe one in Africa, like I don't know, like a bullshit fight in Africa, you know, and then, you know, a UK fight. But I think 2026 he's done. Now, as far as Jake Paul being able to beat, listen, I don't even, honestly, this is not a fight where, put it this way, I gave Jake Paul a chance against Tank Davis because Jake Paul is 6 foot, 200 pounds. Tank Davis is 5'5", barely, for real. You know, I've met Tank Davis, seen him for this little tiny dude, 5'5", 135 pounds, coming to the ring 150 at best. So just off of that alone, it's logistically would have been a lot of issues for Tank Davis, just logistically. But with the Joshua fight, I'm picking Joshua. Knock him out. Put an end to Jake Paul. Be the hero. But to be very honest, it goes to show you the state of boxing right now. Is that out of nowhere, Jake Paul is in the top 3 of highest paid, top 5 of highest paid boxers in the world. And that's just the landscape we're in right now. Boxing is that fucked up right now. Did you ever think you would see something like this? Like just looking at that image. Just looking at that image. It's just like, what, huh? It's happening? If this was just 3 years ago, Eddie Hearn would have told Jake Paul to suck his dick. Like, no. Remember, they were involved in legal issues, suing each other. They had real significant beef. This is where we are. No Joshua Wilder. No Joshua Fury. This is where we are. And here's the thing. People would still buy Joshua versus Fury and Joshua versus Wilder on a smaller, level. But then we get Jake Paul on Netflix. Boxing is real weird right now. By the way, we're going to be here tomorrow night streaming as well. And also on Friday and Saturday night. I already got the streams already set up. Let's go look at the boxing schedule. Remember, Top Rank has this card also on Saturday night as well. Rafael Espinoza versus Arnold. I forgot how to pronounce his last name. This is a very solid Top Rank card for them not to have a network. And then, of course, next week is the big one with David Benavidez, Anthony Yarde, Brian Norman Jr., Devin Haney, Jesse Bam Rodriguez, Fernando Martinez, Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes, Vito Malnicki Jr. Solid card. Great card, actually. I just wish this main event was Callum Smith, man. I've never been high on Anthony Yarde. David Benavidez is going to steamroll Anthony Yarde. I'll be surprised if Anthony Yarde make it through 5, to be very honest. Brian Norman, listen, I don't know why people giving Brian Norman, listen, no disrespect, but I haven't seen anything from Brian Norman for me to be like, yo, I'm going to pick him to beat Devin Haney. Yes, Devin Haney may be viewed as having feather hands. Yes, he's having issues. He's had issues dodging the left hook, but I just haven't seen enough from Brian Norman yet. I think it's going to be a snooze fest too. I haven't seen enough from Brian Norman yet. I'm really interested in the future of Abdullah Mason. Of course, Bam Rodriguez is always going to entertain. Vito Malnicki, I believe his last fight was a draw, wasn't it? Or controversial, I remember, right? It was some controversy with his last fight. The fight before that, the no contest. Okay, I remember now. Majority draw to a no contest. All right, I remember now. Yarde, if you've seen Anthony Yarde last fight, though, I can't. I'm sorry. Anthony Yarde last fight, he looked real bad. It wasn't a Linda Arthur fight. It was the one before that. Wasn't it this one? The Vilkins fight? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just not. I can't. I don't have too much faith in him against David Benavidez, and David Benavidez is getting better each fight, it seems. Yeah, 147 is kind of weak right now. Of course, you probably already know Ryan Garcia is in talks to fight Mario Barrios. They're trying to do Mayweather versus Pacquiao 2. Mayweather, I don't know what's going on with the Mike Tyson fight that's supposed to be happening. I'm really digging that December 6th PBC card. I'm a degenerate, so the biggest fight I'm looking forward to on that card is Janabek Alim Halala taking on Erislandy Lara. That gets my nipples hard. They're trying to put together Caleb Plant versus Jamal Charlo, but that's just, Plant lost his last fight. I'm really interested to see what Zuffa Boxing is going to do at the beginning of the year. And also, I didn't get a chance to talk about it too much because I got to go, but I am picking Vergil Ortiz as it stands now to beat Boots Ennis. Vergil Ortiz is a different kind of dude, man. And Boots, I just don't know. But then again, I'm not even confident the fight is going to happen next because Vergil Ortiz's manager is talking crazy. And you got Errol Spence coming back. He's training with Roy Jones now. Oh, he's going to be training with Roy Jones. I'm wondering if Errol Spence is going to come back to try to fight Vergil Ortiz, or is he going to try to build himself back up in a tune-up before he goes out there for a big fight? Remember, Keith Thurman, Sebastian Fundora supposed to be fighting on the undercard of who was Manny Pacquiao supposed to be fighting again? Rolly, I believe it is, right? Isn't that what they're looking at? Pacquiao, Rolly, and then Fundora Thurman on that card as well in January. Isn't that the rumor? Tank Davis is just done. I don't know why listen, when you keep having the same allegations for the same shit, it just looks really, really bad. Now he's got a reputation for being a woman beater, or just being real sensitive and putting his hands on women. It's just a bad look. Now, the story's kind of crazy, especially, if they're alleging, for one, it was a civil suit. She didn't file criminal charges. That's already a red flag. Secondly, he allegedly dragged her through a strip club out into the back of the strip club or somewhere and beat her on the premises somewhere around, but there's no cameras or footage in it. It's just all ugly. It's just all ugly. And he just don't even seem like he want to fight anymore for real. But then again, he tried to duck Lamont Roach in the rematch for the Jake Paul fight, and now look what happened in that. He don't got no fight now. It is what it is, man. But listen, I will be back on live tomorrow. I'm going to try to go live earlier, like 9 to 11 p.m. I didn't start until 11 p.m. tonight. But that's because I had to set up my streaming stuff again and make sure I tested things. But yeah, we're going to be here streaming every day. And I'm probably not going to stream Sunday, but we're going to be here streaming every day. And we're going to be streaming after Eubank versus Benn 2. Not during, because everyone's going to be streaming during. And then I got to find a time slot. And I was looking like I'm going to be streaming after Eubank Benn 2. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. All my social media is still the same. All the links are down below in the description box.